and welcome to this another edition of the Republican Debate. The Republican Debate on the Republican television with Republican panelists. And of course, we have them here in studio with us. I will begin with him. They call him Dr. Cho Waters. He is a university lecturer. He is coming here for another program, for another edition. Doctor, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
Well, I'm doing good, but not actually good because Cameroon is facing a lot of trouble, especially in the restive regions of Northwest and Southwest, and in the far north and with the COVID-19.
How is the University of Yaoundé Toussoua?
Well, University of Yaoundé Toussoua is doing pretty well because we are not left out with the pandemic, the current pandemic, and we had some issues and we have postponed them because of the COVID-19, but we think that with time everything will be okay. We are not different from other universities. Problems of salaries is not always left.
I want you to make a comment on the just recent election of Patrice Motsepe as the president of the Confederations of African Football, South African, the billionaire, the president of Mamelodi Sundowns, who is now the man in charge of CAF.
Well, that's good news to me because that South African billionaire, we would have asked the question, why is it that rich people have engaged into football? Why not leaving football to those who do not have anything? Motsepe is somebody that I've heard about so much, and I've also seen him acting during the days of Nelson Mandela and some kind of youthful activities in South Africa. Is somebody who is flowing. He's a very good and simple somebody. He promotes culture. He likes socials. He's very friendly, and I think that his coming is a very good news to the entire Africa, coupled with the problems that we've had because Cameroon have lost a lot of billions at the Special Court of Arbitration, and we think. But to end Tabi, I think that Saïdou Bobunja was also elected as one of the executive at the Confederation of African
He's
Football.
Member of the executive committee.
And it's a threat to Semenge. It's a threat to Semenge and Abdurrahman because they have a problem at the level of the Fcfa foot, why the championship has been at launch late.
Okay. Atabon Cornelius, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Tabi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity once again to be on air with a very talented panelist, and I believe it's a great privilege to be here to contribute for nation building and to ensure that we move Cameroon to a better position.
How are you today?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm fine, despite the fact that, as my panelist just said, the country is not moving. We all are aware that we have a lot of issues in our country, and unfortunately COVID has come and is changing from one stage to another. I want to believe
is Fcfa food is Fcfa food actually waxing well, because we know that Seydou Momojoya has been elected as a member of the executive committee of the Confederations of African Football CAF.
Yeah, just like we said last time when we were discussing Fcfa food, unless we have a new team, we cannot have any good news. He has been maintained. These are people who have been eating and they are there for a purpose. So talking about Fcfa food and having the same old names that have been named before some of these children were born doesn't spell any good sense. I just believe that, well, we'll continue to see, but one thing I know is that there's an end to everything.
He is a fan of
struggling.
Yeah, he is a fan of football. Our Balmayo man is our philosopher. He's equally our chief. He has come again for the program today. They call him Chief Alemkeng. Alemkeng, how are you today?
I'm doing quite well, relaxing. Good afternoon to my televiewers of Cam 10 TV. Good afternoon to fellow panelists, and I think this afternoon we are going to put up another strong show to educate the public and then to inform them on the state of our nation and the world at large.
The world at large. Fcfa food, CAF, you equally followed that information. It's good news that Motsepe has come in, the South African billionaire.
I think I'm happy that this time around CAF is going to test, is testing Anglo-Saxon expertise
for the first time,
in African football, and I think greatly that things are going to change. The Jacobian mafia we soon got off because CAF for some time has been witnessing a lot of what we call interest trafficking at the level of the executive bureau. And I think the president of Sundown, being very experienced and being very professional, I think he will not fail us.
He is the in-law of the president of South Africa. They call him again, is it Cyril
Ramaphosa?
Yeah, he is the in-law to the president of South Africa, Motsepe. Equally with us here is Dr. Yves Raymond Fulham of the CPDM party. Doctor, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Classroom. I'm very proud once again to be here. I am a CPDM militant. Let me seize the occasion to greet all our sympathizers, our followers, our militants. I want to say something, Classroom, for my first speech. There is a kind of contrast talking about my party and the other political party. Now we are at the eve of the renewal of our basic organ. But others political party are quietly sleeping as they used to do. And the day of the result, they will come here once again to shout as they used to do it. It's time for the other political party, for the other serious political party to get ready, to try to follow the best example of my party, the CPDM. I will end by greeting exceptionally our national president, who is also the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Paul Biya, for the wonderful job he's doing, both for our party, but mainly for our country, the Republic of Cameroon.
How is Fekafoot? Can we say Fekafoot is doing well? Sedou Mbombojo has just been elected as a member of the executive committee of the Confederations of African Football. Can we say it's good news for Cameroon?
No, at all. I am, of course, in the part of the power, but I am very disappointed. This guy is an impostor. Let me explain. I'm now talking about law. We have a decision from the TAS. The higher court.
Yeah, the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
Thank you very much. In terms of sport. And they say there, the sentence said that all the process of the election, the process, all the decisions, and everything who have been done there, from the beginning of the so-called era of Sedou is nothing. So they have cancelled everything. So how can you understand that an impostor can, first of all, can go and represent Fekafoot, and then he can also be elected? We have two counts. How can I say?
Two sides.
Two sides within the Fekafoot. You have the executive, who have been sacked by this sentence of the TAS, and we have the administration, who is led by the Secretary General. If they need a representative of Fekafoot, they could have sent the SG, the Secretary General, who is there for the continuity of the service. This guy is an impostor. You will see after. This is only the beginning of the battle. You will see after. They will have another battle.
Fekafoot is
unfortunately
Cameroon.
No Cameroon.
It's just like Cameroon.
No Cameroon. Fekafoot. This is when you come to football, you according to me, you don't need to come here to create problem. You don't need to come there to increase the level of the tension within the world of football. There, this is my personal point of view. But since this guy has come, since this guy has team, the executive have come there. They are always, every day you have another scandal. Every day, how can such guy can be elected on the name of the Cameroon, on the name of Fekafoot, in the instance of the CAF? I am still wondering. This is a wonderful world, please.
It's a wonderful world. Sedou Mbombojo has been elected as member of the executive committee at the level of the Confederations of African Football. Okay, Steve, if we can have our first topic on the screen, we are talking the Anglophone crisis. Why has the National Assembly failed in resolving the Anglophone crisis? I'll begin with you, Alemkeng. I'll begin with Alemkeng. Chief Alemkeng. We are talking the Anglophone crisis. On several occasions, we have seen some opposition, some MPs of opposition parties coming to say that to decry the fact that this issue has never been tabled at the level of the National Assembly. Tell us, Alemke, what is your opinion on that?
I think the National Assembly has not only failed to solve the problem, but they have refused. The way we should use it is that they have refused to solve the problem. European parliaments, from France, to Britain, to Belgium, have addressed these issues. In the UK, it has been addressed. In the US, they have been addressed. Continental parliaments have addressed the issue. But here in our own country, our own parliament has refused even to acknowledge the fact that there are crises, and they go about functioning as usual. I think the first reason for the issue is that it is the nature of the country. The nature of Cameroon simply tells us that no individual parliamentary bill we ever go through. And since 1958, we have not seen anything of that sort going through. It tells us that any party that is in opposition cannot push any bill through a national assembly.
The March session has just opened. Do you think that this issue will be addressed?
No, nothing is going to happen. In fact, if you find that somebody is going to be re-elected the 29th time as Speaker of that House, then you know what that House is. It means that it is a rubber stamp parliament. That means a registering box, and that we have seen even after multipartism, only registering what the government is giving them, and consequently, if the government does not ask them to talk about the Anglophone crisis, they will never do it. Some few MPs have stood up to talk about it. They were pushed to the background, and we saw them singing and dancing in Parliament and playing and giving us some comedy, particularly the SDF militants.
So why do you think they have refused to address this issue?
No,
it's an important issue. For 4 years, 5 years on, people have been dying, destruction of properties, refugees, IDPs, and so on and so on.
The first thing is that the government itself has refused to solve the problem. And then you know that Cameroon breathes corruption. And it is the regime in place is sustained by corruption. And the government in place has used all the necessary means, brutality and money to ensure that the MPs don't have any right to it. I can remember that this particular issue has gone to the Conference of Presidents several times, but it has never crossed the tables. Which means that either money exchanges hands between the government bench and the elected people, both at the Senate and in Parliament and in the upper and the lower houses. So you find that the government has blocked it administratively, financially, and otherwise. And from there, you can see how our MPs they do function. In fact, all of them they depend on what the government will say to have things move ahead. I think apart from something that Honorable Awi once proposed about climate change and the rest, that the government took some part into consideration, our parliament.
So the Anglophone crisis is a taboo at the level of the National Assembly.
It's a taboo at the National Assembly, and also a taboo to most of the government services and even most of the ministers. They don't talk about it. I would not really want to accuse the government again, because after 4 years, I have shifted the blame to Anglophone elites who are in government. Because when a problem goes to that level, the elites of that region are supposed to take the bull by the horns and stamp their hands on the table.
But in this government, this Anglophone elites,
that's what we're saying. We're saying that it is today even needless blaming the National Assembly. I blame the Anglophone elites who are there.
In this National Assembly, we have Anglophones.
Those ones that are even there, whether they are even Anglophones of genetic material. Yes. Or they are there by name, or they were handpicked by the CPDM. Since about 99% of them are from the CPDM. I know the way the CPDM they carry out their elections and nomination of member of parliament, people in the parliament.
Okay. Dr. Cho, what is your take on that? The National Assembly refusing or completely failed to solve the Anglophone crisis. What is your take on that?
My take is this. I don't think that we have a parliament in Cameroon, because Section 14 of the Constitution said the role of members of parliament is to control government action and vote laws. When I look at the National Assembly, I see people who go there to sleep, listen, clap, and leave at the end of the day. We have seen in Malawi where people are boxing themselves in parliament. We've seen in Gambia. We've seen in Kenya. We've seen in Rwanda, in South Africa, where they box themselves.
Even in China.
But we have parliamentarians in Cameroon where they go, they listen to each other, they clap.
Okay, so you want them to
they
be
register
boxing themselves?
Not to be boxing themselves, but they
to
go there.
understand that they're actually debating?
I'm coming.
Yeah.
A parliamentarian is somebody who is elected by his people from his constituency to go to the parliament in the capital city and talk about the issues that concerns their people. But we have people who live here in Yaoundé, at Oja, at Kuwait City, at Bastos, but they watch news on Facebook and they go to parliament to listen, but they don't talk. That's where I have the problem. When they control government action, they need to address issues concerning their people because they represent their people. When they address the issues, they do it through an oral manner. But we have ministers that refused to answer questions to parliamentarians at the assembly. Somebody who is appointed is more than somebody who is representing. Then now, when you look at the parliament itself, why is it that the Anglophone issue has not been addressed? Where is Wilbur today? Wilbur spoke about Anglophone crisis and he is on exile. Amadou Modi from the CBDM wanted to say something about the Anglophone crisis. He was not re-elected. Oyono Jodone from Ocean Division in the South region has not been re-elected because he stood up and was talking about the Anglophone crisis. I'm taking examples from the ruling party because they have an obese majority at the assembly, 142 parliamentarians. What can they do? A parliamentary group constitutes about 15 parliamentarians. But we have the UDC and the SDF that made up of 10. UDC is just a satellite parties. You cannot make a parliamentary group to discuss issues at the National Assembly. With an obese majority, there is what we call representative democracy. And the parliamentarians in Cameroon face legitimacy because with the CBDM that has an obese majority, they decide to send people to be elected in their constituencies and not chosen by the population. And so they are now telling us that is the format of the assembly is the format of a dictatorial regime and not a representative democracy. I will demonstrate myself. When you go to assembly, you see parliamentarians that way they say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. It's because somebody have been designed to be there, and if you hesitate to talk, they will push you out in the next election. And I am aghast and flabbergasted that people at the assembly are not representing their population from their constituencies, but they are being appointed by the CBDM to go and listen and clap.
The March session is on. Do you expect anything? Do you think the Anglophone issue will be addressed?
I listened to Laurentine Ferger-Kwa, who is the eldest parliamentarian at the National Assembly. She was very vocal about burning issues in Cameroon, but that will be all. After that speech, that will be all, not to be put. But in a year, we have 3 sessions. The first session is, first of all, to propose laws. They elect their bureau members. The June session is to ratify international convention on treaties, and then December session is just to the budget. So I don't think a bill has been proposed at the assembly and validated. The bills have already been sent from the presidency, so there is no hope that some Anglophone crisis can be discussed. For 4 years, there were reaching more than 15,000 deaths.
No hope that this issue will be addressed in the National Assembly at Tabong?
Yeah, Mr. Clarkson, no hope. Quite unfortunate. 4 years ago, or 4 years down the road, we are talking about no hope again concerning the Anglophone crisis. But I would like to take us back a little bit to this whole issue of the National Assembly and discuss a few points on why our National Assembly is a toothless bulldog. And in fact, some toothless bulldogs even back. Because they can't even back, talk less of bite. I'm going to give you a number of points. Let me begin with the first. That the president of the republic, we call it United Republic of Cameroon, has been invested.
No, we are not United Republic. We are Republic of Cameroon.
Republic of Cameroon. Thank you. Have been invested with a lot of power. The power that he can completely dictate what happens in the National Assembly. So the National Assembly simply works on the instruction of the president, and as such has no power of its own to declare or decide what happens. That is the first thing. And as a result of that, they can't discuss Anglophone crisis because they function on what the president dictates. So far as the president continues to have powers over the National Assembly, or they can't function, they can't do anything. The second aspect I want to look at it is, we don't even have a strong opposition that can maybe push a bill through in this parliament. We don't have a strong opposition.
The SDF is there.
The SDF is there. How many representatives?
5.
When we talk about vote, the CPDM must tactically and specially ensure that it has a majority in the parliament, where the bills that are passed by their boss, our president, are voted for, and any other bill that is not supposed to favor them is voted out, with or without the consent of those in the parliament. This is a mess. This is trash, and I must very much sure that if any of the parliamentarians come up with any issue concerning the Anglophone crisis, it will be voted out.
You are accusing the Anglophones who are in parliament, or the opposition leaders who are in parliament?
All of them. Even if the Anglophones were in parliament, just as we've said, they are of no importance. And even if they were to be of any importance, how would they manage to put for their ideas right to the end? Even if a few of them, like my fellow panelist just mentioned, brings in a bill, it will be voted out in a few seconds. And as such, according to democracy that they claim, I mean dictatorial democracy, let me put it that way, they will vote it out. I will have no use. To me, let the Anglophones, if they were to be Anglophones elite, let them leave the whole thing. Let the Francophones and the CPDM manage the parliament. Let us know that we are not there. Let them vote their bills and continue to rule their country.
So you think the best thing to do is for Anglophones to leave the parliament?
If actually they have realized that most of us here in the parliament have realized, they won't even be there. Let me take a third point. Now, we are talking about the National Assembly. In 2013, the Senate was created, which completely wiped out the powers of the National Assembly, because before any of those votes is ratified, it must go to the Senate before it is finalized. So even if they struggle and some of them pass and go off, they will be cleared. So the government and those at the top are very tactical. They ensure that anything that has to satisfy the English-speaking man and the rest of the country at large doesn't go to point 2. Because this country is managed by a few hand-picked persons who rule right up there, and they forget about the pains of the masses. Go down to the street, see how much the young ones are suffering. Do I want to talk about the internet displaced person all over? I'm talking about school. I'm in school. How many of them are in school? How many of them are paying fees? Some of them have dropped because we need fees to pay teachers. What has the government done? Has the parliament even voted this? Please, Mr. Tabi, let me quote another point. To be so embarrassed, and on the 10th of April 2008, it is the constitution that was amended, giving the president of the republic immunity to prosecution. Where does it happen in the world? How can you give the president immunity to prosecution? You are simply saying that he's a demigod. Whatever he commits is right. As we used to say in school, that whatever the teacher does is right, even when wrong. That the teacher was always right, even when wrong. We have found it in Cameroon. If the president knows that he cannot be prosecuted, he can dictate. That is why he ruled by decree. Any decree he puts forward passes. Who are you to challenge it? If you are comfortable in Konege, then go ahead. Unfortunately, we are saying it today on air.
We shall be coming to your point, eh?
All right.
We shall be coming back to you. The time for us to take Dr. Yves Raymond Foulard. Can we say that the National Assembly is a toothless bulldog, as Atabon puts it?
Before answering properly to your question, let me make some remark, please. In this country, we have 5 points of problem, 5 zones of conflict. You have the Far North region, the East region, the Adamawa, and recently the South, unfortunately the South, and then you have the Northwest and the Southwest. So we have 5 points of conflict in this country. Then secondly, our country is not the only country who is facing secessionist attempts. We have the same problem in Nigeria, in Angola, in Senegal, in Ethiopia, and even in Algeria. Then, I want to say something. We have a principle of separation of power. We have the executive, the judiciary, and then the legislative. So every power must do and will do only his job. Now talking about the Anglophone issues. According to us, there are 2 problems there. We have the real grievance of the population, who are concrete, who are visible. But then a part of this real grievance, we have a secessionism at threats. So there are 2 problems there: the real grievance and the threat of secessionism. So according to me, the best institution, I will also add the mission of the parliament, both the National Assembly and the Select.
And the Senate, yeah.
As Cho rightly say, for the first time, first of all, there's legislation, the control of government, and then the lobbying in order to have projects and in order to put forward, how can I say, to better the life of your region, of your population. So according to me, the parliament is not the best, how can I say, the best place institution to solve the problem of the northwest and the southwest. If there is a concerning the grievances of the population, this is the job of the executive. If it concerns the secessionist threats, then of course, then both the executive and the judiciary, according to me, are the best institution, the institution best place in order to solve the problem of our brother of the northwest and the southwest.
So Dr. Fuller,
I will end by saying that
the assembly is not the best place to resolve the Anglophone crisis.
According to me, yes. The assembly has a role to play.
What is the role of the assembly?
The assembly is there to put out the cries
of the people.
The people. To represent the interests of the people. But talking about the solution is a matter of the executive and then the judiciary. That's what I wanted to say.
Alemke, do you share that opinion? The assembly has nothing to do as to what concerns the solution to the Anglophone problem?
I'm very far from Dr. Fuller's point of view. I think if he's in Bafusam, then I should be somewhere around Malabo. Normally, in governance, what brings governance to the people are the laws put in place, and these laws have to pass through parliament. What has made Cameroon to fail in the area of decentralization is simply because the executive has taken it as if it was a discipline master in the school enacting laws on coming and getting of the nails. I think that's where the problem is. Why has what do I say? The partial answers given by the executive failed in the Anglophone crisis? We start with the DDR. You find that it is something that never went through parliament. When you drop your gun, what becomes of you? A few months ago, we found them all on the streets. Meanwhile, we all propose as Cameroonians that the president should grant amnesty to all those who are all those who went wrong with the republic. And whenever there's an amnesty, he must go to parliament so that everybody is protected by the law. The president himself has gotten the biggest protection by passing a law in parliament that he cannot be persecuted on anything that he does. I think we are written in Cameroon. The parliament remains the sole place where that problem will be solved. Even very soon there will be a ceasefire. It will be decreed.
Very soon, eh?
Very soon.
You are giving us infos.
I'm telling you now. The ceasefire will be decreed. And it will be decreed and it may fail simply because the act of law is not inside. It's not within it. I think we have to, in Cameroon we have experts in conflict management. And there is what we call the French administration. The French administration which nothing other than brutality, in which only coercive force is used to enforce things that they think.
So French administration is assimilation, is brutality.
Is brutality and coercive force. That means at every instant, go through all the laws on French administration. At every instance, the hand of brutality must come in. Of coercive force must come in. Meanwhile, the law itself is supposed to make you afraid. But instead,
so I like that the National Assembly is the best place to solve the Anglophone crisis.
It is the only arena. The head of state will sign even a ceasefire will not work because people will not feel protected. It is only the assembly that when a bill passes through the assembly, it holds. And that is the more reason why even when the president wanted to be president for life, what did he do? Did he make a decree? He went through the assembly. That is the right place, and those who refuse it, history will judge them.
History will judge them. Dr. Cho Waters, do you agree with Dr. Fuller, who thinks that the best place to solve the Anglophone problem is not at the assembly?
Well, I would not abide to his ideas because we are not in the same line of reasoning. Me, I'm reasoning scientifically that in a democratic country, in a non-democratic country, in a dictatorial regime and a non-dictatorial regime. I'm based on the format of governance. I'm not into discussions of ideas that people bring into studios and they want others to accept. What I'm telling you is this, that when you come into a government where we have representative and we have appointed are from the central government. Representatives are elected by their people to represent them in a house called parliament. When they go there, they discuss issues that their people face. People are dying in the northwest and in the southwest, extrajudicial killings, burning and raping. Where are those parliamentarians at the assembly from the northwest and the southwest that are living at Oja, Bastos, Kuwait City and other rich areas in Yaoundé? Now, government action. I quoted section 40 of the constitution. They control government action. Let me take one action of the government. The Economic and Social Council of the state. In 1984, there were 95 members. Today we have 3 members. Do you know their budget? Their budget is 1.5 billion. We don't know what they are doing about it.
For 3%.
Before the House of the National Assembly, the former house caught fire, they had a signboard there. When they moved to the new house, there's no signboard. The 3 people have disappeared where they are in the new building now. And so the money has disappeared to thin air. Parliamentarians are there, they're just clapping hands at the assembly, they're not controlling. Let me take another example. When you go to Villa, the Villa Bridge and there is Villa and Man in the Ocean Division in along Campo. The Villa Bridge in 2017 was given a budget to be constructed. Man was also given a budget to be constructed in Somesop. Do you know that in 2017 up to now the money has been embezzled? Where is the government action? When Ninja will come out to say that money has been embezzled in COVID-19, people will say that Ninja is talking about how many Ninjas are there at the National Assembly. That is government action. Look at the Douala Yaoundé route for how many years today? 60 kilometers. Simalen, Post Central here in Yaoundé, Cameroon.
8 years.
8 years. It has not been completed. Let's
come back to the Anglophone.
I'm talking about the government action, that the role of the parliamentarians to control government action, and the Anglophone crisis is one of the action that they are not controlling. Then when you want to tell me that the assembly is not a good area to pose and or maybe to formulate the Anglophone problem, to me is of bad faith, because it is not possible in a dictatorial regime like Cameroon to discuss Anglophone issues at the assembly, because they are being teleguided by the presidency, and the proposed private member bills come from the presidency. They don't come from the opposition party that is even the minority of the National Assembly. So what we can do now is just to pray for a transition, a political transition, so we can have a representative democracy like in Congo, in DRC Congo, for private member bills to be passed.
So the assembly is the best place to discuss.
It's the best place, but in a dictatorial regime, it's difficult. And Cameroon now it's difficult to dissolve Cameroon because Cameroon is in a dictatorial regime, and the system of governance is presidentialist.
Can we say MPs are better place to solve the Anglophone?
They are better place, but not the types in Cameroon, because they are there to clap, listen, and not to talk. I have cited examples like Malawi, Gambia, South Africa, and Rwanda, where they go there and they fight.
The MPs are not doing their job.
No, they are not doing their job. They are there. They have been put there by the party that is in power now, and they are being teleguided because they know that if they speak about Anglophone crisis, the next election they will not be.
Even the MPs from the SCF have been put there by.
They are the minority, and when they speak, they send them an exile and will ban.
They were put there.
What else do you want me to say? This demonstration is a proof.
Yeah, they were put there.
Atabo,
Yes.
you just said a while ago that it was a toothless bulldog, the assembly, and then Dr. Fuller said the assembly is not the best place to actually solve the Anglophone crisis. Do you agree?
I think I completely disagree, and I think it is an overstatement to ever mention it in a discussion like this, where fellow Cameroonians are watching and want to benefit and probably see how we can move ahead, to think that the parliament that was put in place, where people either willingly or unwillingly voted for persons from their regions and sent to the parliament to represent them, today we claim is not the best place to solve their problem. Let me begin by saying this. Why are the people voted? Why is it that to be a parliamentarian must be voted in your area of origin, where you were born? It's because you understand the problem of that place better than any other person, and the need for you to present it at the national level for it to be discussed. If we remove them there from that place, then how are we going to solve the Anglophone crisis? Unfortunately, let me go a little bit on that aspect, that it's unfortunate that most of these parliamentarians, especially for the CPDM and some from for the CPDM from the Northwest and Southwest, have never gone to that village. For the past 4 years, have an Anglophone crisis. Which of them has gone there to see the reality on ground so that they can talk in the parliament? They are here squandering
that they live in Kuwait City and
millions of money with young girls and living a fabulous life. Why the people who voted for them are there in the region, languishing, living in the bushes, dying, suffering. Some of them have run into town. I tell you, there are hundreds of Anglophones who are here in town. They have nowhere to sleep, and you want that even the small place they are relying on, which is the parliament, that they could even talk about the people, it should be removed. If the parliament is not the best place, we should discuss the president through decree. Is that the reason why so many soldiers are being pushed to the region to send more people to the bushes? Unfortunately, he said it, but I want to make Cameroonians today know that let them put their hands together, ensure that their problem is heard at the National Assembly. Let me take you back. I saw how Wilbur was hushed down at the National Assembly by the president. I'm telling him that he should go and sit down. Somebody voted by his people should go and sit down. He is not there to represent the government. He should represent the people. And until he speaks, he won't sit. And just like my fellow panelists said, in a dictatorial system like this, he was forced out of his own abode just because he spoke the truth. Our country, for it to succeed, you don't need to speak the truth. If you can lie very well, then you can take any position in this country. But let me warn you, if you want learn how to speak the truth, your place is very close to the prison.
The truth is a taboo in Cameroon.
Very, very big taboo.
Signed
and decreed.
Dr. Fuller, you just heard what the various panelists just said a while ago. Do you still believe that the National Assembly is not a place to discuss the Anglophone issue as a solution to the Anglophone crisis?
Clason has said that we have a principle of separation of power. Every power has a role to play, his role to play. Talking about the decision making, we can discuss, and they are discussing daily within the rank, both of the National Assembly and the Senate. They are discussing daily. They have their internal network there, and they are in close relationship with those who elected them. This is concerning the discussion. The main role, the main mission of a parliamentarian is to bring out the cries of the population. But talking about the decision, talking about the process of decision taking, this is the only attribution of the executive. That means that it's the head of state and the government who have the right to take the decision. And now I heard so many mistakes. First of all, concerning about the IDP, I cannot list there the action taken by the head of state, the first lady, the government, in the favor of the IDP. Every day you see that the Minister Paul Atangaju is going everywhere in order to bring them the help and the need coming from the head of state, the government. So the government is taking care. We receive instruction to welcome all our brothers. They call it in French, vivre ensemble, to live together. You see the instruction to welcome them. And the head of state is doing everything his best in order to ease the life of our brother from the northwest and the southwest. So nobody is well placed, and nobody overlike our brother more than the man who has been elected by the population to rule the country. Is the head of state. Nobody like the people more than the head of state.
So President Paul Biya loves Anglophones.
He's doing his job. He's doing his best daily. Now I want to also say something about the I don't know whether the chief maybe it was telling words like that. General amnesty, ceasefire, and a dictatorial regime. You can notice by yourself, Clason, in a dictatorial regime, people can talk like that freely. They cannot. If you were in a real dictatorial regime, those guys will not leave this studio. But they are free. They are going up and down. They are free to see everything. They have the right to vote. The right to go up and down. The how to come together. The right to even to join political party. So according to me,
it's not a dictatorial.
According to me, it's not a dictatorial regime. And
there's freedom of expression.
They can do everything you like, except when you are how can I say when you are how can I say when you are how can I say to know who are the red line. When you don't cross the red line, you have to obey the laws, to respect the institution, and then to respect the institutionists. Talking about the general amnesty, Chief,
fade out.
I want to say the head of state has two points of view. There are the point of view of those who say that these people must be freed in order to ease the reconciliation. But unfortunately, you have on the count of the head of state, you have also extremists there who say that those guys has committed crime, so many atrocities. Those are killing our soldiers, our policemen, our army, the civilian, the chief, the traditional rulers. They are burying women alive, and they are looking for a general amnesty to go back to the village freely. This is a debate within the camp of the head of state. Then talking also about the ceasefire. How can you put at the same level a constitutional army? You know, every army, all army in the world have 3 missions. The first mission is the protection of the territorial integrity. Then the second mission is the security of goods and people. Then the third mission is to back the institution, to back the institutionalists. So how can you put at the same level a constitutional army with the terrorist secessionists who are there to break our country once again? You are talking about ceasefire. So according to you, is the same thing. They are the same level. They are doing the same work. That's why you used to say that sometimes some of the proposals are even more dangerous than the atrocities of these terrorist secessionists. You cannot put at the same level the army and the terrorist secessionists. So for us, we are quite confident, class on. We know the sufferings, the suffering of our brothers. For myself, I grew there, I school there, we receive news from there, we even have a family there. So we are very sad by what is happening there. So we are, first of all, I can say, pray God, and then we trust our head of state. You know, he's a man of the middle. He's not an extremist. We know that he will take the good decision, the right decision, in order to solve this crisis. But as I used to say, this is a common action. What disappointed is the fact that other people are only blaming the head of state. They are always blaming the government. They are saying nothing against the atrocities of these terrorist secessionists. There are holy people there. They can do everything. They don't have anything. How can I say? They are not saying anything against them. For us, you know, this is a kind of a bias point of view. And when you are biased, you cannot have, how can I say, a rationality. So you have to be like the other at the middle in order to have a real rationality in order to take the good decision for the sickness of our nation and then for the sickness of our brother from the northwest. I want to say that the brother that they have real problem, and the head of state is doing everything
to solve the problem.
Yes, and first of all, one step further is this matter of regionalization. There will be so many improvements. You have a special presidential plan. You have, like I said, the independent public mediator. You have the houses of chief. So there will be there so many improvements.
Things will change. Things will never be the same again.
They are even started to change. Who will allow the population to solve the problem by themselves. And this regional government are ruling by the native of this region. But if they think that they will break our country for the 5th time, they will break our country once again, they will never take place.
Okay. Dr. Yves Raymond Foula is
Jules
asking,
Raymond.
Jules
Thank
Raymond
you.
is saying that we should actually pray, that we should ask the Almighty God to intervene, and that the president is at the middle. He wants to solve the Anglophone crisis. Alemken, that we are not in a dictatorial regime. What is your opinion, Alemken?
I think to go in very simple terms, in our citizenship book that we teach to the to people in school and students, it is clearly stated that in Cameroon there is what we call power separation. But when you examine it, you find that the three arms of the government are not separated. One arm dominates the two other. The legislative and the judiciary is under the control of the executive.
Even the United States.
And we don't want what
Even in the United States, you
we don't want what to that area.
a strong position
So
of the
in normal circumstances, that
the
is how it
United
is.
States, the Great Britain.
And then my second point is that is this small sentence. You can decree a war, but the end of a war can never be decreed. That is what Cameroon must know. The MPs, the government, even the head of state himself, he knows that you can decree a war, but the end of the war can never be decreed. Once you have decreed a war, that war can only come to an end when people are on a round table. And insofar as that round table doesn't exist, that war can persist for the next 70 years. We saw it in Colombia. That is what I wanted to.
Even the First World War ended with a peace conference in
Always, there is no way.
in Versailles, France.
When we take arrogance, we take brutality, and we decree wars, we must know that the consequences of carrying out such an action is very, very grave.
Who decreed war?
No, the government decreed the war through the head of state at Simalan Airport.
Never.
The reports are there.
We
and
were
clear.
talking about Boko Haram.
The reports are there and they are very clear. Even when they were doing, even if you go to all the media consultants, you will have the archives proving that the war was decreed. Away from that now, we will find that Mr. Fuller has given a lot of things in his in his time of speech, but I want to say that Cameroon, after 4 years, the crisis alone is already an aspect. You could take the far north, the east, the south. There are problems everywhere.
Thank you very much.
But the second phase of the Anglophone crisis is bloodier than the first. When it was amber gun to the military gun, there were fewer deaths. I think you need to meet the human rights group and be getting statistics, getting the facts on the death toll now.
There are problems everywhere. Are you comparing that of the Northwest and
No, I want to clarify him that those other issues they are there, and they are all issues of governance.
They are less important than.
No, they're not less important.
Thank you very
They
much.
are all issues of governance, and all the push that the civil society is giving to the government is to allow is to give the government the courage to engage in what we call a new financial and administrative governance. If you know the number of billions that have been squandered away because of this Anglophone crisis, Boko Haram, how many hostages were paid? Some they gave 2 billion. The money that was given up north, the following morning, the same coins, the same notes were found in the palace. I think we need to take an extra step.
I hope that you have the proof. Huh?
No, it's not a matter of proof. Because I've seen that you people the CPDM, you're still arresting your militants and kind them to the judicial police. I think we need to go down a bit and take some humility.
What are you advising the MPs at the level of the National Assembly?
No, the MP at the National Assembly, they have gone there to fill their stomachs. And at the moment, I will not be calling the National Assembly because the Assembly of today is a single party. It's a monologue. I think there's other parliamentary group here. I'm talking about the check of Dr. Chua.
Yeah, PCRN.
Yes. That should be all.
The satellite parties.
Yes, meaning that, and we know how that party was created.
They are free.
We know how the party was created. We don't want to go into that.
If we are having a monologue assembly, who to blame?
No, the monologue assembly, it is a system. And the system is killing the country economically, socially, and politically.
Dr. Cho?
We should be articulating logically for people. You know, Tabi, I came to the TV because we had a crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest, and today we are talking about war. I've never been to TV before. Since the Anglophone crisis started, I was with Mancho BBC in Bamenda, so I know what I'm talking about. Every year, things are changing. They're never the same again. So every year, the strategies by Amba Boys are different from what was in the previous year. And so the method...
Their strategy is getting better?
No, they are getting worse. That's why the number of deaths are increasing daily. And the government is not understanding the strategy they are putting in place to limit the number of deaths. Now, we are talking about crisis. We are into war. I went to my village and I saw what is going on there.
Your village is? My
village is Fendong in the Boy Division, Fendong Subdivision, Boy Division, Northwest Region. The guns the guys are carrying are even more than the guns on some of the military men in the Northwest and the Southwest, and some of them don't even know how to use them. When you look at the guns, you imagine, what are we talking about? You are talking about that there is security in the borders, that guns should not be moving into Cameroon through illegal way. How, I'm asking you the question, Tabi, how have we come about that Amba Boys are carrying firearms when we have people who are monitoring our borders?
Are you blaming the National Assembly for that?
No, we should ask the question to the government. That why is it that Amba Boys are carrying firearms and fighting the military? Where have they gotten the arms from? Because our borders are protected. If I'm listening to the permanent secretary for national security, Paul Tanganji, he said that our borders are secured. They should not be selling guns, but those guys are carrying guns. Then number two, 20th March, I will quote an example. 20th of March 2003, President Paul Biya went to Washington, D.C. It was George Walker Bush who was then president. He supported the war in Iraq. France was against, and there was a United Nations Security Council. During those days, an attack was launched in Iraq. And we'll take another example. Before, you said that he declared war at Somaliland, and that was true. He supported war in Iraq. In 1966, when during the Biafra war, they asked Ahidjo to support the secession between the Biafras and the Nigerians. Us would have been in Biafra state today with the oil in the Northwest and the Southwest. Ahidjo refused, and France voted Ahidjo out, and today we have President Paul Biya, who was awarded and accredited by Mitterrand in 1981. You understand that the issue of Anglophones today, we have the problem of Anglophones and we have the question of the Anglophones. The problem of the Anglophone cannot be addressed at the assembly because the constitution has been illegally modified in 1972, section 47. We were not to change. Whosoever that change, the present constitution is anti-constitutional and illegal. That's section 47. 72 was modified. 89, they're still rotating around 89 to make president to change that the prime minister should not be the president of Cameroon. President Paul Biya highlighting resolutions of the Fumban to make rotation between the Anglophone president and the Francophone president. Those are some of the burning issues that prevent the assembly to handle the Anglophone crisis. Tabi, that's what I wanted. Ultimate demonstration was to end to tell you that it's a taboo at National Assembly because the National Assembly is incompetent.
The National Assembly is incompetent to handle the Anglophone crisis at Tabon?
Well,
whereas they are representing the people.
Yeah, well, I would like maybe to look at it in two aspects, just like you said, from the constitutional aspect, which have been modified to ensure that there are certain issues that must never be discussed in the National Assembly.
Voilà, which is a national secret issue. Yes, a national secret.
Which is not actually voiced out. And on the second aspect, the fact that the PMs have voted, that issue must be discussed there. And that is why you realize that at times, like it happened last time, you saw the SDF parliamentarians turn the National Assembly into a joking area. Why? Because they insisted that the Anglophone issue must be discussed and the other parliamentarians they should walk out. I remember watching a video that even some journalists were picking up their things to flee because it was a decree that had been passed that any issue, any force to discuss this, it is better that day of assembly be cancelled. So I don't want to, but looking at it on the natural aspect, it is the only place where we can discuss our problem, resolve it, and move ahead. I want to come back a little bit to talk about what Dr. said, talk about the ceasefire and Mr. Alemge. This is the only beginning for peace, a ceasefire. Because looking at international communities, we cannot begin sitting on the round table to solve an issue that concerns war without having declared a ceasefire. It is the beginning of all, the end to all war. But if he thinks that because the Amba are carrying guns and they are killing the militaries and they are killing, what are the militaries doing? They are there, they are going so they should be killing them so that they should be seen. Aren't they killing? Should we quote instances where houses of poor Cameroonians have been burnt down with children inside and were attributed by the international community and the human rights to the military of the country? It is a ceasefire. And if our president was loving and caring like he says to the country, in quote, and not to the CPDM, he should have declared a ceasefire, beginning from his own military. And if the military takes as what he says, they know the protection of human life and properties. Why are they burning and killing? I am not supporting the Amber Boys either. But let me tell you, if you train a child to handle a knife, be sure to die by it. If this war started and the major steps were taken to solve it, this Amber crisis would have gotten here. Let me tell you, who are the Ambers? These are young, frustrated Anglophones who were unable to pick up a job. They were living in the villages, earning their life from fishing and selling of firewood. From the day they were driven into the bushes and they started seeing one of their wives, brothers, fathers being killed, they decided to fight back. They were fighting back by the use of sticks, hiding in the bushes, and when they realized that the end of this war was not coming, they decided to look for other means. And that's why today they are becoming more dangerous. And I want to believe, if the government we think that we have is listening, it is not by sending soldiers there. These guys are becoming deadlier every day, even to their own people. Why? Because the longer they live in the bush, the more they see blood, the more they become inhuman. Not even only to the military, but even to their own people. I want us to be very careful. I want the parliament to go into this session and ensure that something is done to put the system out.
Yes, Alemkan?
Yes, I want to remind Dr. Fuller that ceasefire does not mean end of war.
Yes.
Ceasefire only means a break and a time to discuss and come out with new strategies. A ceasefire period gives both sides the time to reflect and present their points openly, so that they see into them. Once they are not seeing into them, they work and then restart.
But ceasefire is important.
It is an important
It is the first step.
It's the first step to end a war.
To end in war.
Dr. Fuller, do you agree that ceasefire is an important factor to cease the war in the northwest and southwest?
We totally disagree with this explanation of a ceasefire. According to us, when we are talking about ceasefire, we are putting on the same level a constitutional army and the terrorist secessionists. Clarkson, I didn't want to say what I will say now. You know, according to us, the head of state is Excellence Paul Biya, and our country, we are suffering for teachings. First of all, the secret accord was signed by our country at the time of the independence, who allowed the foreign country 80% of our health, 80%, and then our own country 10%. The head of state denied to renew these accords. Then the secretary of the fact that the head of state diversified the cooperation with foreign countries. We talk in maybe we talk in the subject about the Commonwealth. Now we are our countries now have cooperation ties with Chinese, Germany, Russia, Turkish. They also don't like them. Cameroon was, how can I say, a place, how can I say, a paradise for them to come and take everything. Then the third thing is the implication of the China Republic. So you know, Chinese they have some more respect for other people because Chinese themselves were colonized by Japanese, so they know how to handle people. They have a lot of respect. So they say that since you deny to renew the contract, we will punish you and your country. That's why you see, how can you understand that those guys who give them money, who train them, who, and in some foreign so-called foreign friend country, they are fundraising there in order to buy machine guns, grenades, and so on, and they send them there. In other countries, we have positive diaspora. Those like in Nigeria, in South Africa, and even in Angola, those who are there to build their country. But we have a peculiar diaspora there who are fundraising, buy guns and send them there in order to allow their brothers, if I can call them brothers, to kill their people. And we even have the worst. You know, those guys now, they are no more Cameroonian. They took all their nationality. They are now Chinese, they are now American and so on. But they are still continue to make action, to lobby, to do everything in order to black the image of their country, to send against them, and how can I say, everything bad back there in our country. Foreign, they are now foreigners. They are no more Cameroonian. And this country are there quiet. They are doing nothing. They are harboring them. And they present themselves, how can I say, the best fighter against terrorism. This is a kind of contradiction. I will talk about the increasing of, how can I say, the level of the terrorism. Man, where these arms are coming from? Where? You know, to buy a gun is not like you're going to the shop and buy a bread. No. You must have a license. There is a process. But you see, the quality of the arm earned by these terrorist secessionists, that means that they are direct links, they are close links with foreign countries who want to punish the head of state, who want to punish our country, to not to allow them
for not signing certain agreements,
not to allow them to come here and exploit everything. Now, I also want to blame. I will not talk about the population, but I have sometimes a little grievances concerning the population. They have a very important role to play. As their brother of the far north region, the East and Damawa did, they know so many things. They know these guys. They know their network. They are close. They are their relative. They are their brother. But they don't want to cooperate. They don't want to give the information to the security, the army, and the police. That will allow them to do their job. And now I will also blame the so-called NGO. When you have a biased report, we don't ask them to like the country or to like the head of state. But
we are not talking human rights watch here.
But for us,
we are not talking human rights watch here or Amnesty International.
These so-called
we are talking the National Assembly.
Yes.
Allow me. Crisis.
Few seconds. These so-called Ambazonians, they are not, as he said, that those guys who don't have any more something to do.
They don't have jobs.
We have information that this operation were planned till so many years ago. There was a very planned operation, and these guys were trained even abroad in other countries. I can name 2 countries. They were trained in Nigeria and in Ghana. These guys, though they are not innocent people. I will.
Do you have proofs?
We have information and proof. I will line with this testimony of Kajinatumi. He said that concerning all those who kidnapped him, there were so many. There were only 2 Cameroonian. 2 Cameroonian. There were more than 20. Now it's a matter of the mercenary. It's a matter of the professional of war. There is no more a problem of the population. That became banditism. That became terrorism. That became an attempt to break our country once again in order to punish the head of state and to punish our country.
We are ending on this first topic, and each speaker will have a minute as we conclude. I begin with you, Alemke. Your last word on this first topic. What are you advising, of course, our MPs, the National Assembly, to do as to what concerns the Anglophone crisis, especially as they are meeting in this March session?
I think the MPs are helpless, but as the English adage goes, say hey while the sun shines. I think seeing this MP, they are barely into their second year of their mandate. I think they should seize this opportunity to push ahead a bill, or to push ahead the beginning of this discussion, because our parliament is already being categorized under a non-existing parliament in the world. If an issue that concerns your own country has been discussed in more than 70 parliaments out of the 190 parliaments in the world, and your own parliament hasn't discussed it, and you call yourself an MP, you need to carry out some introspection.
Your last word on this first topic, Dr. Cho Waters.
I know that it's an impossibility, but what I would have advised the 3 parties that are representing there from the opposition party, even though some are satellite, is that they should, if they can boycott the assembly, if the Anglophone problem is not discussed, they can do. I'm talking about PCR and the UDC and the SDF. They can be more than 15 because they are 5, they are more than 15 if they can boycott the assembly. But what can they do to 142 parliamentarians that were appointed and not elected? And then lastly, no, they can do, if they can boycott, it can draw the attention and they will put the issue. Even if you saw the most eldest parliamentarian, she spoke very well until everybody is happy. If that's the only strategy. And then lastly, the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Paul Biya, is the only person that can end this war that he declared. And do you know that Cameroonians fear this man? Cameroonians are afraid of President Paul Biya. If he should be remembered in the history that he solved the Anglophone crisis.
Before stepping down.
Our father, I'm talking to you. Stand up and take the bull by the horns and talk to Anglophone. Forget about your entourage, and the Anglophone problem will be solved.
Yes, Mr. Tabi, my last word on this, even before I say that, I want to remind my panelists here that talking about the Anglophone crisis, it did not come up as an issue that has been planned. I remember that this whole thing started by a teacher strike far back in 2016, and because of the close ears of the government to issues that would have been solved then, it emancipated and then it continued and then turned into something else. But looking at the parliament and the Anglophone crisis, I want to believe that if the president really loves this country, as we've said, he should ensure that it is discussed, and he has seen for 4 years that it cannot be solved by war. He should calm down.
A dialogue was called, eh?
Yes.
A major national dialogue took place in this country.
A major national dialogue was a way to fool the Anglophones. And that is why those who went to that dialogue were tactically chosen. So I want him to
call for another dialogue.
To personally pass a bill through decree, as has been doing, that will favor the Anglophones so they can continue to rule with his dictatorial system. Thank you.
Your last word on this first topic, Dr. Fuller.
Yes, our brother from the southwest and northwest have suffered a lot. It's time to put an end. So for me, I'm trusting all the parliamentarians of the CPDM. You have 152 in the National Assembly and 70 in the Senate. It's time now, all together. It's not a question of Anglophones. We were colonized by German. So this is a time now. Please.
We're never colonized.
Please.
We're under the mandate territory.
Please.
Of British Southern Cameroon.
Please. You
cannot say something which you cannot make an error and allow it to pass when I know it very well.
Okay.
Dr. Fuller.
We're never colonized.
So I want to simply say that for all the parliamentarians, both Anglophone and Francophone, I'm mainly talking about the parliamentarians of my party, the CPDM. It's time now for them to put hands together and then to give proposals once again to the hierarchy, to the government, in order to ease, to put an end of the sufferance of our brother of the Northwest and the Southwest. They have suffered a lot. It's time to help them, please.
Since 2016, the sufferings are just too much, a lot. And we want to believe that the MPs who are meeting at the glass house in Ngwaikele, that they are actually watching and listening to us, they have to do something to help solve the Anglophone problem. That was our first topic. But before we move on to our second topic, the time for us to have the press review with Loom Colette. The press review.
Good evening. The newspaper stand this week had a variety of news stories, beginning with the Women's Day celebration on March 8, where women could not go on a march past due to the rise in the coronavirus, with the minister's cancellation of the traditional march past. The Eden reports that women defy government ban, public manifestation. PCC moderator dishes out a commandment to New Mungo's PS. Over 500 Nigerian refugees begin journey back home. The Eden newspaper reports on Minister Adum Gagum, who passed on into eternal glory. Rare historic meeting of Islam and Christianity. government set for first consignment of the coronavirus vaccine. These were the news stories you find in the Eden this week. The Horizon report on government that goes firefighting. Minister Nalova Lyonga, Minister Paul Latangaju swing into action. The Median report on Parliament that honors pioneer women MPs as government councils parade. Police trailing corporation workers. What is really the matter at CDC in Cameroon? Safety measures tighten. Vaccines commanded with the rise of the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, the Guardian Post report Minac boss gives marching orders to governors, SDOs. Why 5 die in Boyamoyo carrot accident over this week? The Post reports this week on Bilingualism Commission, which launches campaign against hate speech. Anglophone crisis not on National Assembly's agenda. Meanwhile, the Emergence report on government's reiteration on COVID-19 measures due to the increase of the coronavirus in the country. Cameroon Tribune this week reports about the 8 March activities, while Lord Sayer speaks about the COVID-19 effect on women entrepreneurship. And the Voice newspaper this week reports about the Prime Minister that faces frightening new COVID statistics. The Social Democratic Front Party NEC meets amongst Osi Nyancho US Congress Kimish. Bilingualism Commission campaigns against hate speech, xenophobia. These stories and more, you'll find them in the Voice newspaper this week. The Guardian Post comes back to report about 1 dead, others injured as suspected Amber fighters opened fire on buses, and the first set of Nigerian refugees voluntarily return home. Meanwhile, the Herald Tribune this week reports on self-styled Ambazonian general apologizes for atrocities committed, while Prime Minister reinforces preventive measures. Government suspends Sano Water Company for 6 months. Archbishop Kier empowers 38 women groups. Municipal updates report about COVID-19 alert 1 year after the virus took Cameroon. It is back with full force. While the Eden reports on women who defy government's bans on public manifestation, protests for inclusive power sharing. And the Sun newspaper this week reports about BR relief packages handed to Nigerian refugees returning home. Cameroonians unmoved by government's fresh push. While the Guardian Post comes back to report about heads that may roll in Senate, National Assembly bureaus. Dreaded Amber General arrested. Government to inject 4.7 billion francs CFA to revive cash-strike banks. Antique on course to boost information system security audit. Lord Dusaye comes back to report about the passing away of Minister Adum Gagum. Meanwhile, the Post newspaper this week reports about the sitting on riches working in poverty, and the Post question, will President Biya take COVID-19 vaccine like PS? The Guardian Post speaks this week about former minister who says non-implementation crime against humanity and our national shame. This was one of the captions on the Guardian Post headlines this week. And the Horizon speaks about alleged separatists shuts down Bamenda, while the Horizon comes back to speak about government inject 47 billion to recapitalize UBC and NFC. And the Median talk about Batonier Chakute Party holds last brief. Parliament vows to tighten controls of government spending, and former MP for Fako East Honorable Otoke Freeze provides Fako women with business capital. The newspapers also report this week about the National Assembly that kickstart this week. These stories and more you'll find in the newspaper this week. Until I come your way again, welcome to the Republican.
Republican debate Loom Colette with the press review. We are now moving on to our second topic of the day. We are talking the Commonwealth of Nations, Cameroon. Between Cameroon and Commonwealth, Cameroon became a member in 1995. From 1995 to 21, mathematically it should be 26 years.
26 years.
26 years after. What balance sheet can we make Cameroon and Commonwealth LMK?
I think the balance sheet for me is not very clean as we expected. When Cameroon joined the Gentleman Club, most of us from the Anglophone genetic material were very hopeful that the government of the Commonwealth was going to save us, because by 1995 government scholarships were almost non-existent, and if they existed, it was just meant for the children of the rich and those in government. And when the Commonwealth came in, we knew that was coming in to help Cameroon move out of bad governance, help Cameroon correct some of judicial and bias treatment on those speaking English in this country. But down down memory lane, we find out 25 years after the Commonwealth has not given the right impetus as concerns the Anglophone crisis.
So there's nothing to be proud.
No, there's nothing to be proud. No, they are giving us a good number of scholarships to Cameroonians, not to Anglophones, to Cameroonians. Because when they come, there is a selection. Medicals, electronics, and
they don't care whether it's a francophone or
no. When they announce the scholarships, medical scholarships, electronics, and other technical scholarships are reserved for children of the upper class. We don't know that one. And then fields like agriculture, teaching, and the rest are left for
the
those
children of upper class. What is upper class?
Are left for children of those who are down there.
What is upper class?
No, I want to use the word that we know. Are left for children of those who are down there. Even with the opening of the how do you call it, of a branch of a secretariat of it at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We're thinking that things will be excuse that other thing we will go a long way, but however the impact is being felt because
Cameroon, we have a minister delegate in charge of Commonwealth. Felix Mbayo.
The impact of the Commonwealth is equally being felt at the beginning. That we had a lot of clubs, Commonwealth clubs at the level of secondary schools and universities and the rest. And then the Commonwealth equally was very active, and at that time it promoted Cameroonian youth in terms of entrepreneurship and the rest. But of recent, we really found the real weakness of the Commonwealth. And maybe it is because the Cameroonian system is too hard for the international community, because when it comes to corruption, our country is a champion, and we have all the tactics to minimize any effort being made by any of our friends. So I think the Commonwealth has actually contributed to our social, economic, and particularly education.
So it was a nice thing for Cameroon to join the Gentleman's Club.
It was a nice thing.
We can say it's an achievement on the part of the President of the Republic.
It's one of the achievements that Mr. Biya will go down history with, because actually he stayed for too long before joining. So at least no.
Is it not better to be late than never?
Even though it was late, the still far better. And I think the Commonwealth needs once more to stand behind us in terms of governance and the rest.
Dr. Fuller, we are talking Cameroon and the Commonwealth of Nations. Can we say that it's a good thing that we Cameroonians, we can be proud for belonging to this wonderful group, the Commonwealth of Nations?
First of all, I want to praise the head of state for this historic decision. You know, from our history, we were mandated and then what you call in French, tutelaged both by the French Republic, the French country, and then by the Great Britain. So according to me, there was an official recognition of the role of the Great Britain concerning our history. Nowadays you have a prime minister. Himself was the minister delegate in charge of in the Ministry of External Relations.
Of course.
Who was in
Chief Dr. John Guti.
Yes.
He used to be our classmates in in Monaco.
The same grammar school.
The same grammar school, not classmates.
It cannot be by my classmate.
Okay.
So I want to seize the question in order to greet him and thank him for the wonderful job he's doing at the level of the Star Building. So now, then we receive here so many delegation classroom. The Secretary General in charge of Kmer was there, Madame Patricia Scolan. We have now so many exchange. We now have ties with Commonwealth country. We have partnership. We have even the increase. That's one of the main improvement, the increasing of the level of the bilingualism. Let me explain. I will not be long. You know, before a few Cameroonian, the elites were talking mainly in French, and they used to say few words in English. But now you can notice that more than the half of the elite are fluently talking both in French and English, like the Prime Minister himself. So, and we also have two specialized university. How can I say, who try to copy the how can I say, the system of the Great Britain. We have the University of Boya, the place to be, and then we have another university in Bamenda. For me, it's also an important thing, because we have in the French part of the country, we have a generalized universities, but there, both in Bamenda and Boya, you have specialities. This is very important for the country like our own. So we have also in talking about sport, we have so many participation of our sportmen in the Commonwealth game, and then they won so many medals there. Who was increasing, how can I say, the level of how can I say, the level of the visibility of our country abroad. So also one of the main improvement is talking about democracy. You know, this club of gentlemen, they have the red line. You do not cross. You have to have multi-partism. You have to have a strong opposition. You have to respect your opponent, and also you have to try to have the point of view of everybody. That's what we are we are daily doing in the National Assembly, and very recently in the Senate. We don't say that what they are saying become laws, but they say that at least they can speak, and they can speak about everything. Now there's no, you know, there was before this kind of discrimination concerning Francophone and Anglophone. Nowadays there's no more discrimination. We are equal. We are all of us. We are Cameroon, and we belong to one country. We have the same level of chance. There's no discrimination now. So things have changed thanks to this club of gentlemen. Also, as I said at the beginning, I want to overpraise the head of state for this historic decision. He has so many opponents. You know, some of our former master. They saw our country as what is in fact our chasse gardée. They don't want any country to come and to enter in our affairs. But nowadays we have this open relation with the whole world, thanks to the head of state, His Excellency Mr. Paul Biya.
Dr. Trowaters, Cameroon and the Commonwealth of Nations, 26 years after, what balance sheet can you make? Can we be proud for belonging to this gentleman's club?
Where is it? Can we be proud? It means that Commonwealth have served us, maybe has done something good to Cameroon, that we have succeeded in solving so many problems. Because the role of the Commonwealth is to intervene into economic and security matters. Why is that we have only 14 countries in 1995? Since November 1995, we have just 14 countries in Africa, more than 50 countries that we have. Ask the question, why is that we have only 14 countries? Ask yourself, why is it that the president of the Commonwealth came to Cameroon with African Union and La Francophone, went to Unity Palace, they left with envelopes with bags full with money, and they left. She went to Boya. The delegation went to Boya. When they came back to Unity Palace, they left with envelopes, big envelopes, and left Cameroon, and people are dying. I had the opportunity to participate in one of the anniversary in 2015
internal matters
at the University of Yaoundé.
Internal matters, domestic matters.
My paper that I presented there was about domestic unity and diversity.
They don't have the right to interfere in domestic matters. This is a sovereign country. Excuse me, doctor.
I thought that you are also university done like me, and you have always been teaching me a lesson that when somebody. No, it's okay. It's okay. We are friends. So I participated in that anniversary in 2015. The paper I presented with unity and diversity, Brother Lemken. When I presented, I won, and they gave me a prize. The prize was given to me because I won. Other prizes were given to others for their performance, not only in the anniversary but at the university. You go to secondary schools, colleges, it's the same. Primary schools, middle school is the same. But what triggers my mind is that I am very astonished that Commonwealth projects in Cameroon have been embezzled by the government because they give only to people where their families are well to do in the government, like scholarship. You mentioned scholarships, Commonwealth scholarships. It's not any kind of person that they give Commonwealth scholarships. Then when you go to social matters, is Cameroon diversified? Is there unity? Because I presented a paper in that. I know Commonwealth, they fight all those, and that's why they create those clubs in order to represent them and sensitize the population, which is not what we think. There is war in DRC Congo. There is war there are problems in Central African republics and other countries. We have wars in Central Africa and in Sub-Saharan Africa and West Africa where there is Commonwealth. What are they doing? Section 45 of the Constitution says international law override national laws. What is the role of Commonwealth? To me, we are not proud because their contribution is insignificant to Cameroon.
Atabon, what is your take on that, the Commonwealth and Cameroon?
Yes, I would like to most often take us back a little bit to history on the fact that before Cameroon was admitted into the Commonwealth, there was a lot of contradiction, and that was because they feared that the Francophone system and the role of autocracy will override the minority Anglophones. And there was a debate whereby some people thought that Cameroon shouldn't be admitted. But thank God, like we just said, our President Paul Biya succeeded that we were admitted. That was on the 13th of November 1995 during the 14th head of government meeting in Auckland, in Switzerland, New Zealand, I beg your pardon. But one of the fears of the Commonwealth was the fact that admitting Cameroon, which is bilingual, dominated by the Francophones, may not significantly see the minority Anglophones performing in a country which has been admitted into the Commonwealth. And they were asked to ensure that there is federalism, there was liberty in speech, and that there was freedom, and that there was even a greater extent for the Anglophones to have a right of their own. But down the line, till today, has this been met? Permit me, fellow brothers, take you back that one of the causes of the Anglophone crisis is inequality.
We are talking about Commonwealth. We are not
one of the,
you spend the whole year
we are talking about Commonwealth and asking if we are proud or not, and we are giving facts why we are not proud. And one of the reasons we are not proud, having given the advantages which have been met, is the fact that Commonwealth itself has not been able to guarantee that equality, that self-sufficiency of the Anglophones within the Commonwealth, which has been a failure on its side. The extent to which we were supposed to be somehow autonomous has not been met.
Okay.
So we think that it would have been necessary for the Commonwealth to actually go a step ahead to do more work, because what actually gives Cameroon the membership, the 52nd membership, is the fact that there is a non-soap. If not, they do not deserve to be a member of.
We still have 2 minutes to go. Each speaker will have 30 seconds. Each speaker, we are concluding. Dr. Fuller, we are concluding. Each speaker will have 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds, Dr.
The Commonwealth is not a political party. So this is a sovereign country. The Commonwealth don't have the right to interfere in a domestic affair.
They have the right to propose.
And we have we have the same situation in Canada. There is the contrary. You have a huge number of Anglophones and a few Francophone, but they are living together. What I want to say,
override the Francophones.
The Commonwealth is not there to solve the problem of the Anglophone.
Quebec is quite independent.
It's a question of the language. People who are speaking English is not there to solve the problem of Anglophones. It's that they are taking care of people who are speaking the English language. This is a great difference.
Thank you. Your last word, just 30 seconds, Alan King.
I think the Commonwealth, apart from being either the Commonwealth or the Francophonie, apart from being a cultural organization, has a political connotation. And in this case, I'm disappointed on the Commonwealth contribution towards the solving of Anglophone problem.
Okay. 30 seconds, Dr. Cho. We are going.
I concur with Chief Alenkam because I listened carefully to the last anniversary by Felix Mbanyo, the Minister Delegate and Minister of External Relations. He said that there was improvement in Northwest and Southwest concerning the crisis from Commonwealth, which was a very fat lie that he was lying to Cameroonians.
You want to add something?
Yes, just to say that just as Nigeria was removed from the Commonwealth because of the inability to solve internal crisis, if this country cannot solve the Anglophone crisis, let Commonwealth equally remove Cameroon as a member until they realize themselves. Thank you.
Dr. Fuller, we are going. That the Commonwealth is not a political party.
I want always to remind that Anglophone has their no problem. Don't count on Commonwealth, please. This is a worldwide organization who dare to take care of those who are speaking English. They are doing very good things. They have done every great good for our country. Okay. We are proud of them, and we hope that days ahead we go further in our cooperation.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you for watching the program. Take another appointment same time next week on the same channel. See, then we say, may God continue to bless the Republic.
you.